Welcome to ES Ascension News for November 2017. Our theme for this month, Implanted Thoughts. Dear Ascending Family, when we have a better comprehension of how implanted thoughts and mind control implants are used, we can better discern the agenda and refuse to participate with it. If someone set out to design a society that drives people to worship self-destruction, self-absorption, and materialism while driving them to escape the inner emptiness through self-medicating and addiction, you'd have the general blueprint of mind control that is used in our society. Essentially, this is about blocking perception of reality by jamming neurological receivers and hijacking the brain so that the masses cannot decode or perceive what is really going on. Many of us can feel the pressure to create soul disconnection and artificial intelligence assimilation in the masses has been turned up. The antidote to mind control broadcasts and clearing implants is deeply connected with developing our spirit and refusing to become a slave to automated impulses. For this reason, we will look at the most common forms of implanted thoughts and implants and how to identify them. Since the Majestic 12 and Zeta Gray Alien Trade Agreements were made about 85 years ago, Earth inhabitants have been aggressively experimented upon, with hidden technologies used to implant thoughts as one of the many prongs of social engineering programs. During World War II, there was a major revolution in the militarization and approach to warfare as a result of the major world governments making contact with negative aliens, who introduced them to an array of advanced technologies in exchange for access to human genetics, breeding programs, and Earth resources. During this phase of setting up covert military programs to experiment with these alien-based advanced technologies, it became common knowledge in the secret intelligence factions that human brainwaves and behavior could be influenced or controlled through exposures to light and sound or electromagnetic frequencies. These exposures were covertly tested out on human beings for many purposes through the development of various electromagnetic frequency implants. Certain electromagnetic exposures are invisible and can change the way the brain processes information while influencing specific conditions in the mind and body, many times without the person's awareness. The methods used to approach warfare against enemies changed rapidly toward total control over humanity's biological processes through combinations of exposures to a spectrum of electromagnetic fields. Through targeting the human brain and bioneurology, the mind, body, and soul can be manipulated to control thoughts and emotions, transmit suggestions, interfere with long and short-term memory, insert images, run audio and sensory experiences, and take control over autonomic and voluntary functions of the body. The goal is to confuse or destroy the organic signals that normally keep the mind and body in a state of homeostatic balance and equilibrium, while shutting down the genetic switches that are responsible for DNA signaling in the human body. This month we are exploring more deeply the impact and effect of implanted thoughts and implants that generate the pathological mind of the negative ego in the human population. In order to identify and locate the source of implanted thoughts and refuse to become a slave to automated impulses, we must know that this technology exists. The mind control agenda is very complex, but it is important to realize that the use of artificial intelligence technologies designed to implant thoughts in the collective are what keep the AI timeline loops operating in the lower dimensional fields. When we clear implanted thoughts and implants from out of our consciousness body, when we refuse to automatically play out mind control patterns of fear, violence, and division, we are helping to collapse the collective AI grid. When we refuse to feed into the holographic insert or implant by holding neutrality and witnessing our pain body, making the effort to emotionally heal, the implant dissolves in the light you created in its place. When we choose love over fear, when we shift perception into higher virtues, when we 12D shield with our avatar Christ, we can dissolve frequency implants and clear the painful triggers enmeshed within them. As you consider this information, hold awareness of these technologies so that if you need to locate them for dismantling, you are empowered to consciously participate with the process in partnership with your God self. Whoever controls an individual's mind through implanted thoughts also gains control over their identity and the direction of the soul and the consciousness energy of that person. Thus, whoever controls the collective mind of the masses through the premeditated use of covert mind control tactics, such as aiming concealed electromagnetic frequency technologies to transmit implants into the unaware public, will also gain influence over those individual groups' unconscious and conscious thoughts, as well as their motivations, perceptions, and beliefs about the reality. Essentially, this means that if we are exposed to concealed mind control tactics or allow something external to gain control over the thought impulses in our mind, then our beliefs, attitudes, instinctual drives, and brain activity are not really our own. In people with weaker character development or unhealed traumatic injury, sometimes this also means that a person's outward actions are not fully their own because they are being physically controlled by implanted thoughts that are being externally projected into their unconscious mind. When people cannot control destructive impulses that generate outward destructive actions, they become an unconscious agent for spreading dark forces and dangerous chaos, pushing people to the razor's edge of insanity so they act out destructively is exactly what the negative alien agenda desires, as this is a potent divide and conquer tactic, and it generates a lot of emotional pain and suffering that can be harvested and used to further manipulate perception. If our thoughts are not being carefully generated from our own self-determination and informed consent to make wiser personal choices, and we instead allow others to think for us, or we act from unconscious impulses stimulated by implants, we lose control over our personal intent, consent, and authority. If we cannot gain control and discipline over the content of our own mind, then we are forever consciousness slaves. Slavery and subjugation is the core purpose behind any agenda of implementing secret strategies for implanted thoughts and implants within any population. If people are left unaware that they are secretly being exposed to such mind control tactics, they become a slave to the most dominating force, which is exerting a non-visible control mechanism in their bioneurology, This bioneurological implant mechanism is designed to manipulate their thoughts, motivations, and desires, which further act to take over that person's perception of reality. Once the perception of reality is controlled, formatted into the majority consensus, or the approved version of history that was devised by the negative alien agenda, then the common people self-enforce the same fabricated narrative without knowing they are being used as pawns in the controller game that covers up the Archon alien deception. Through the control and manipulation of the perception of reality, many Earth humans self-enforce their own enslavement through the perpetual warring and exploitation of their own planetary resources. Diminished reality. As a result of exerting electronic control over a person's brain activity and thought forms, our emotions, memories, and the accumulated knowledge over lifetimes that form our mental map can also be manipulated and edited in order to get us to believe in something that is not factual or true. This is similar to the effects of using artificial intelligence computer-mediated reality to edit out, subtract, and remove information or manipulate one's perception of reality through technology that acts as a visual filter between the real world and what the user perceives. When a computer technology or implant is being used by someone to edit out or diminish the reality perception of others, like consciousness wiping of previous memories, this has negative effects and consequences upon the individual's internal functioning and their ability to maintain psychological and emotional coherence. Technology that is used to diminish the perception of reality actually fractures the multidimensional consciousness body, where portions are connected into the augmented virtual reality, while other sections exist within the layers of organic consciousness timelines. This is also referred to as soul fragmentation. Implants are specifically used to diminish perceived reality through the manipulation of the bioneurological function of the person's brain to not actually perceive or see the unapproved topic, object, or thing that the controllers do not want them to see. Essentially, this is about blocking perception of reality by jamming neurological receivers and hijacking the brain so the masses cannot decode the data stream or specific frequency of that content or thing, which was selected to be intentionally erased from memory. If the accumulated information that we have available that educates and informs us about life is based upon a foundation of intentional lies and deceptions, filtered through implants that diminish reality, we are at a severe disadvantage in making clear, intelligent, and informed decisions that impact our future well-being. One example is the false information given to humanity by the negative alien agenda during World War II that established the Convention for Public Curriculum within the academic institutions. The falsified version of scientific and historical data that was written into the educational textbooks to establish the fabricated curriculum of approved topics are still currently endorsed by the primary academic institutions. By managing intelligence and controlling access to information that diminishes the perception of reality, as well as supplying the perceived human enemies with disinformation, this keeps people ignorant in order to trick them into making the wrong decisions based upon lies. The manipulation of a person's perception of reality by getting them to believe in deceptions and illusions that are created through a lengthy series of false impressions over time is a method used to diminish perception and control access to accurate information and higher knowledge. Everyone on the earth is subjected to the continual stream of disinformation and implanted thoughts, the attempts to manipulate our perception while being blocked from accessing truthful and accurate information. Now is the time to reclaim our truth and to courageously face what has really happened to the earth and to all of humanity while we were asleep and being implanted with thoughts that were not our own. Controlling perception is subjugation. If we start to think more deeply on the reasons why the controllers and the negative alien agenda work so hard to diminish our perception of reality in the external world by controlling the thought forms and beliefs we hold in our minds, then by what other methods can you imagine they would implement as mind control weapons? Here, we are exploring more of what they commonly use in the forms of hidden technology that project implanted thoughts and implants in order to gain control and access into the individual mind, collective mind, and planetary mind. Those that have access to the most knowledge, intelligence, and conscious awareness of what is really happening in the world have the most strategic advantage on the planet. Hence, the controllers use this knowledge to their gross advantage to abuse power. In the current consciousness warfare climate, diminishing easy access to open source knowledge, manipulating mainstream media while blocking the sharing of truthful information within the global community is an important concept to understand. This is an example of how divide and conquer tactics are used to manage intelligence, control perception, and direct collective consciousness levels into ignorance and subjugation. When the human body and brain are being blocked with some mind control implant or a form of bioneurological electronic harassment, it redirects the nervous system and brain to be more accessible to receiving thought transmissions generated from the many external sources that we are being exposed to. When focusing the person's attention on a series of light and sound images, such as movies and music, these images transmit holographic information, and sometimes this data transmits frequency implants into the central nervous system, brain, and unconscious mind. Noting the high saturation of images of death, violence, and inhumane behaviors that are constantly aimed at the public from the media reveals one layer of implanting harmful thoughts as a strategy. Artificial networks continually send out electromagnetic pulses of information through technological devices, both seen and unseen, to keep people fixated on meaningless dramas, third-dimensional deceptive narratives, and extremely negative emotions to produce pathological minds. If the majority of humanity is unaware that we are primarily using a pathological mind to co-create our reality, then we can easily observe what kind of world is being unconsciously created. We have to open our eyes and look around to be honest about what we see as the global reflection. Thus, we have to understand the nature of the pathological mind and its thought forms in order to commit to stop using it, realizing that it is a pathological mind that co-creates a pathological society. Pathological mind, pathological society. At some point, every person will come to face the internal questions on the reasons why there is so much warmongering, senseless killing, poverty, child abuse, human trafficking, sexual misery, and the intended destruction of natural resources that produce horrible human suffering across the globe. Unless a person has degraded into a predatorial-minded psychopath who shuns all personal responsibility in the face of selfish agendas, it is completely obvious to many people that there is an all-out war being waged against the whole of humanity, beauty, and creation. We are repeatedly told that the war against ourselves is from our own warring human nature. However, the Black Sun forces behind the mainstreaming of this agenda absolutely despise anything that represents the source light inside of a human being. That is the essence of truth, purity, creativity, unconditional love, and compassion. Why are these qualities not developed and supported as the primary ethical values that are sustained within our society? Instead, these virtues are generally thought of as personality weaknesses and preyed upon as victims. Consequently, those that exhibit these higher moral character qualities can experience that they are harshly punished by society, as the pathological society greatly rewards its predators. To decode the pathological mind, the next question to ask ourselves is, who actually created it? At what point did the death culture, consumptive modeling, and the incoherent spreading of mass chaos and destruction become the socially accepted, tolerated, and normalized way of life for humanity? When did we choose to forsake the light of creation within us for the empty shadows of darkness, brutality, and despair? Further, how could this have happened? With all things considered and with an open mind, could implanted thoughts and alien implants have contributed to manifesting extremely pathological minds and pathological consciousness? Much of humanity has been swindled out of their sanity, coherence, and higher knowledge, along with the capacity to be calm, peaceful, and happy. Instead, they are driven to the brink of traumatic stress and narcissistic injury in order to reach the obligations of consumption and survival that is heavily promoted in this pathological society. When looking to the global picture of mass mind control reality, using hidden electromagnetic technology to project thoughts into the environment and into people's minds starts to actually make more sense for witnessing the dangerous pathological behavior that is common today. Source pathological thoughts intend to clear them. It is our responsibility to monitor our thoughts and decide if we want to own them as being authentic to us. Where are your thoughts coming from? And are you self-aware to the point you can feel your body reacting to impulses from external stimulation that do not feel natural? Start to consider to source the thought, source the impulse, feeling, or stimulation that you may be experiencing in that moment, and pay attention to impulses that are pushing you to do something. When you pay attention and make a choice to shift perception, you are directing your consciousness to become aware of what is really happening inside your body. Humanity has been conditioned through trauma-based mind control and assorted implants to have default settings for building a pathological mind that is used to think, problem solve, and develop distorted belief systems that direct people to make self-destructive decisions about life. As a result of the early onset of mind control programming that has produced the pathological mind, we further co-created a pathologically disturbed life along with a pathologically disturbed family dynamic. Additionally, if we remain stuck looping within the bondage of the pathological mind, we are connected to the collective unconsciousness, and thus we help to co-create and feed into the pathologically sick society that impacts everyone. If we allow ourselves to honestly and deeply reflect on the current pathological conditions we find throughout human civilization, do you think it's been created naturally or manufactured intentionally? Would any species repeatedly choose pathological thoughts, behaviors, and actions that are designed to deliberately destroy themselves and destroy the world they live in? Who actually benefits from the intended destruction of the earth, the divisions between the nations, and the senseless killing of the human race? When we consider who is responsible for creating the events that contribute to the hell realm that has become commonplace upon the earth in the dark cycle, then we must consider what responsibility each person has within their connection to the whole of humanity. When a person awakens and finally can see more of the inhumanity that is rapidly rising up in the world, what can they do immediately to be a productive cause for healing the world? All belief systems that separate human beings from each other are divide and conquer tactics that are ultimately destructive to everyone. Every horrific event in history that brought our world closer to manifesting the realms of hell and perpetual suffering in the death culture could be prevented and shifted through the reinvention of ourselves, to be in our heart and committed to live and speak out truthfully. To live truthfully and authentically requires the reconstruction of each person to be willing to look at and accept personal responsibility for the darkness that exists within themselves. How would life on earth change if every person was willing to take responsibility for the darkest fears they have, and they were willing to address their darkest fears about existence? Are you willing? In order to refuse to participate with the harmful agendas committed by the pathological minds that are manufacturing the pathological society that is engineered by the negative alien agenda, we will need to explore more deeply the more common pathologies of the 3D mind. Pathological minds have been manufactured in the lower dimensions through a variety of trauma-based mind control strategies, as well as electronic harassment that delivers frequency-based implants into the subconscious mind and the entire human energy field. Implants produce pathological mind and parasites. Thus, the use of light and sound to stimulate brain waves can be used to modify and change a person's brain activity, thought processes, and behavior in a relatively short period of time through frequency implants. What is little understood is that this can also be used to alter the natural function of DNA signaling in the human body, turning on and off genetic switches in the human body, which can alter perception. Alien implants are used to implant thoughts into the minds of the masses to form socially acceptable belief systems that shape anti-human value systems for upholding the main controller pillars of society. This is a form of social engineering used to condition humanity to accept the spiritual abuse from the negative aliens and to self-enforce their predator thought systems through hierarchical enslavement systems based in fear. This is the primary divide and conquer strategy made against the planet and humanity. Alien implants and their archontic deception behaviors contribute to disease physically, emotionally, mentally, and spiritually. Alien machinery and their mind control implants make us sick in a variety of ways. Alien implants work in the human body in a similar way to the chemical process of geoengineering that is spraying chemtrails to the natural body, it disrupts the electromagnetic energetic balance and the homeostatic rhythms within the human body. Many times running low-level electromagnetic fields or radio wave signals that are designed to disrupt the human body's natural homeostasis and electromagnetic balance. This puts the body into hyperstress or a hyperimmunity state and adrenal exhaustion while fighting off the invader. The body develops coping mechanisms to deal with the foreign invader, while extreme stress is placed upon the central nervous system, brain, and immune system. As with chemtrails, alien implants most generally act as a metallic frequency overload and exposure to impact the overall bodily energies and its auric field with ranges of heavy metals. Eventually, this disrupts the body-organism balance, and as a result, parasites, fungi, yeast, and other pathogenic microorganisms become overgrown and imbalanced in the body. It is important to understand that energetic parasites are one byproduct of alien implants, and eventually they can manifest and turn into a variety of physical parasites that weaken the human body. Physical parasites impact all bodily functions, mental body functions, and negative thought forms. They can induce emotionally hysterical states as well as promote disconnection from the inner self and spiritual energies. Many of these pathogenic organisms attract parasites that attract demonic energies into the weakened human body. And this is a primary reason for this strategy. If the body is heavily implanted and therefore heavily parasitic, anti-parasitic therapy such as cleanses, fasts, meditations, and prayers are highly suggested to help regain energetic balance within the homeostatic functions of the entire body, mind, and spirit. It also is necessary to stop consuming all genetically modified foods, which are designed to radically increase parasitic invasion into the human body through the digestive system. Implants behavior profile. In the application of an artificial intelligence implant, such as a sexual misery or victim-victimizer frequency-coded mind control implant, its mechanism acts like a tick or leech that burrows itself deeper into the lower areas of the astral body, mostly in the first and second layers of the perineum and sexual organs. An implant in the sexual organs directly impacts the instinctual reactions and emotional response functions, which run stimulated impulses into the spinal cord, brain, and throughout the central nervous system. Many implants are also targeted into the nerval plexus at the base of the skull, which is the location of the atomic doorway, the access area into the medulla oblongata where the inner spiritual light reflects out of the eyes from the embodied monad. That inner light will die or become dead in the eyes after this mind control implant takes control over the body through the central nervous system manipulation, which stimulates the pathological thoughts of the negative ego. This is to block the spiritual body from coming into embodiment in the physical layers. It is common to target etheric implants into the reptilian brain to activate the survival or fear-based thoughts, and these are placed in the base structure of the brain stem via the medulla oblongata. This is a way to manipulate the autonomic impulses sent to the brain in order to change perception or stimulate thought control via the negative ego mechanism, which triggers activity in the lower three layers of the subconscious, instinctual, and conscious mind matrix. Until a person can realize that this is happening to them through a default setting made within their autonomic nervous system, which is fight or flight, and they learn to re-engage with their parasympathetic system, They are unable to shift out of the negative ego reactions stimulated by implants. Electronic harassment through electromagnetic signals. There are a variety of external transmissions, both in sound and light waves, audio and visual stimuli, emanating from the ranges of the electromagnetic spectrum of frequencies. Some of these transmissions are more natural, while others are designed for artificial mind control and are from non-human sources. The physical human body emits electromagnetic waves, and the signals used to control most brain and bodily functions exist in the extremely low frequency scale. Extremely low frequencies can be easily sent out through a variety of technologies, and they are used as a method of electronic harassment targeted towards many human beings. These electromagnetic signals are directed into the planetary body and Earth's surface in order to control the neurological system and brain of individuals and groups of people. Implants and mind control technology are real. It is an established, certifiable fact that the media will not tell you about. The technology exists, the hardware is in place, the patents are on record, and the agencies that run and control them are in place and have been operating these technologies for a long time. Electronic harassment generates bio-neurological impairment in the human body, which can reverse and confuse brain signals. The satanic agenda is to reverse human neurological functioning by conditioning the person to create and feel pain in order to activate their pleasure centers. The cycle of interconnection made between pain and pleasure centers is reinforced and conditioned into the bioneurology non-stop, which escalates into harmful addictions or deviant behaviors. When we pay attention and we care about what is happening to the planet and people, we will begin to clearly see an agenda designed to assault and damage the human nervous system. If we are more aware of how the neurological functions in our body are related to our mental and emotional states, then we are better equipped to take control over the direction of our thoughts and emotions. Then we can open and train our neural pathways to receive direct messages from our higher consciousness bodies, the soul spirit self, overriding the messaging from the negative ego that are the main frequency spectrums used in electronic harassment and implants. External, extremely low frequencies, signals trigger distress. To impact and manipulate human consciousness, all that is required is to create a complex signal through a frequency-following response. When the brain locks onto an external signal coming from the environment and begins to mirror that signal. The signal can be a carrier wave in a spectrum of frequencies designed to create feelings of distress or trigger emotional pain. As a result, the brain chemistry alters and changes, generally plummeting the person's consciousness into a range of lower negative emotions and confused perceptions. Large populations can be sent frequencies into specific demographic areas that are designed to incite agitation, aggression, or anxiety. Then they put out news feeds in the mainstream media to incite fear, blame, and promote sensationalism, thereby inciting violence, rape, hostility, and criminal behaviors. It is possible to modulate signals on any electromagnetic carrier for transmitting a message into the brain to alter chemistry, implant thought forms, and instigate behaviors for shaping or grooming the person to carry out some harmful or criminal action. Artificial machinery and alien machinery. Inorganic machinery that is placed in many layers of the light body by the negative aliens through programs running artificial intelligence are also used to claim ownership over that individual. These could be simple mechanical devices to complex systems that are being used to infiltrate and harm the human organic biological system. These AI programs infiltrate the biological, neurological processes of the body like a virus to infect and block the natural frequencies from running appropriately. If the device is complex, it needs a power source, in which case it has been observed that some alien implants function as battery bodies that collect energies and then circuit them to another power supply. When a person has a pathological mind, they are mentally unstable, and as a result, they are more vulnerable to dark force manipulation methods and possession. Mind control scripts and their string commands are used to sweep and locate unstable people, such as severely narcissistically wounded males, to act out violence and spread the artificial intelligence program signal to infect more people with similar or matching traumatic injuries. Etheric weapons. Etheric weapons can be viewed as energetic knives, cleavers, needles, and other sharp objects that are found in the light body, body parts, genitals, corpus callosum, nervous system, and brain. Most commonly, this is a spraying type of frequency implant that is designed to create general harmful electromagnetic field frequency disturbances. They are also used to weaken the auric body in order to bolster the larger use of bioneurological harnesses. Sometimes etheric weapons are sourced from a bleed-through from another timeline where war and weapons were used. Many times the person may have expired or had their physical vehicle destroyed from this weapon that was used against them in another identity in time. Etheric weaponry is generally connected to residue imprints in the auric light body that are sourced from the warring historical record in the soul matrix or from other timelines and identities. Many times when the person is undergoing a spiritual ascension progression, when reaching that layer in the spiritual body where a trauma occurred, the cellular memory record will reveal itself, and one may see with their inner vision etheric weapons as a bleed-through event from other timelines and spaces. Etheric weapons are also used by the imposter spirits and the negative alien agenda as a dark force manipulation method to create pain, distress, illness, or energy leaks in a human being. Zeta seal and frequency fences. Military-grade alien technology that had been artificially written into the various reversal field grid networks and have manifested independent harm from their technologies of military weapons, genetic experiments, timeline programs, artificial intelligence, holographic inserts, and astral mirages, human abductions, tagging, tracking, and astral plane manipulation. One particular distortion we'd like to bring to your attention is the Zeta seal, because these implants have been more active in the general 3D population during this time of transition to the next harmonic universe, which is bringing much higher frequencies to be exposed to the masses. The Zeta seal is located in the astral plane layers of the heart complex to prevent activation of the fourth DNA strand, which blocks access to the higher intelligence of the mentor fields, or the first layer of the higher self-mind in the fifth dimensional layers. It is designed to interfere with the natal structure, which instructs the human nervous system and communicates with the circuitry of the human heart and the kidneys. Electrical impulses are generated from the light body via the natal structure, which is a spiritual body part. It is made up of a webbing of energetic receivers and energetic transmitters that are intrinsic to the interconnected messaging functions in the human soul spirit consciousness layers. Consciousness wiping. Blank slating or consciousness wiping is a term that refers to mind wiping technology used by military personnel and the negative alien agenda, usually in organized covert operations to remove current memories or accumulated intelligence of black operation projects when the projects or person become obsolete. Blank slating technology has also been tracked remotely to observe that it has been applied to planetary gridwork and ley lines by the negative alien agenda in their attempt to destroy planetary consciousness memories and historical records of the actual events on the planet. Through blank slating the planetary consciousness field, such as using this technology in the horizontal networks, this renders many human beings into amnesia and unable to recall or remember who they are and what their true origins are. This technology is very effective on human beings that exist in lower frequencies of the 3 layers of ego. It is less effective on starseeds, indigos, and people that tend to be naturally open-hearted, empathic, and intuitive. This happens on the earth to people without their informed consent quite often. Holographic insert. Holographic insert is a frequency insert placed in the light body for implanting a false or real memory that is being programmed upon the consciousness for mind control purposes or for DNA genetic manipulation. Holographic inserts are used to bend time and space and therefore manipulate holographic images and timelines. Inserts are implanted into the consciousness layers through the frequency manipulation of the body's energy fields or light body. Many times they can play out whole snippets of holographic movies in audio or visual cues, and is one reason we must be extremely careful to boundary test communications that come from clairvoyance or clairaudience. Many times a holographic image of a person or religious figure that is beloved by another will be manipulated in some way to deceive the person and change their perceptions. Relying on audio or visual cues for higher sensory communication with spiritual entities or fieldwork is not recommended due to the high degree of manipulation. Sleepers. When there is bioneurological control exerted on certain test subjects, such as people that have been subjected to MK Ultra, alien or MyLab abduction for experimentation, the person can be triggered neurologically to commit certain behaviors or criminal acts. That person that is triggered by certain keywords, phrases, or energetic phasing into carrying out these actions involuntarily is called a sleeper. This has also been referred to as the Manchurian candidate. After repeated bioneurological manipulations of use on the target person, the control system moves to the parietal lobe to block current moment sensory responses of awareness or direct cognition. The person is now locked inside a 3D window and cannot perceive anything outside of that window of perception. Essentially, the consciousness is trapped in a small material cell block in the reality. The parietal lobe may be caged or higher sensory functions controlled by the manipulating entity or the programming. This is how holographic inserts of projected images and thought forms can be controlled to change the perception of the human being. This is how the masses are being controlled through diminished reality perception, put to sleep, or mind slided. Mind slides and their symptoms. Mind slides are holographic inserts that trigger sensations in the neurological system. that are designed to keep people ignorant and blind to what is happening to them. Many alien abductees have mind slides to deny their experience and bury it deep behind the walls of unconsciousness or amnesiac barriers. When areas that are unapproved topics are exposed to the alien entity controlling or hosting the body, they will program the mind slide to activate when certain words, phrases, or codes are read or spoken. Sometimes when people are injured in the body part, traumatized by suppressed alien abduction memories, they will break through the amnesiac barrier to relive that trauma experience. The mind slides are inducted into the human's neurological system, which activates mind control technology to pulse the brain's receiver. This can take the form of a mind control script. That abduction never happened. It's your imagination, can pulse fears of going crazy, or even play images or movies in the mind of that person. Some of the symptoms of mind slides occur when exposed to unapproved words such as alien abduction, negative alien agenda, reptilian, satanic ritual abuse, UFO, implants, and MyLabs. These symptoms include falling asleep or feeling drowsy, feeling an electrical zap or punch to the solar plexus, compulsion to leave the room and get away from the messenger or information, feeling irritated or excessively agitated, inner or outer violence that stimulates outbursts, compulsion to smoke cigarettes or self-medicate with drugs, resistance in the form of denial, aggressive reactions, labeling the information as ridiculous, hostile feelings generated to verbally attack the messenger. This is victim-victimizer programming. Evoke negative images or negative emotions to reject the information. Corrupted dream state with extreme negativity or interference in the astral state through lucid dreams. It is a mind slide program when human beings completely ignore unapproved topics or unapproved words, terms, or issues that would challenge their belief systems in the 3D narrative, or expose their enslavement that was hidden by the amnesiac barrier. Many times, even if they come face to face with it, they still deny it or invalidate what happened. Mind slides are a form of mind control that can be implemented through radio waves that form frequencies that transmit into the person's unconscious mind in their bioenergetic field. This can happen when asleep or awake, and people are especially susceptible to unconscious implants if they leave the television or media running when they are asleep or focused upon other tasks. A consciousness sweep mind slide is a holographic insert program placed in the planetary mind that erases or changes the meaning of an unapproved word, unapproved phrase, or a range of unapproved topics when it is exposed to the masses that have been implanted by the negative alien agenda's artificial machinery. An example is when people open dialogues or reveal evidence about aliens or abduction, child sexual abuse, or satanic ritual abuse. They are commonly ridiculed, persecuted, defamed, shamed, and promoted as lunatics to other human beings that have been mind-slided. Sexual mind control. The name of the game for the Nephilim Reversal Grid Network is propagating and feeding highly destructive addictions, including deviant sexual attitudes and behaviors within the global human population. This is a part of propagating the sexual misery collective mind control programming along with the victim-victimizer archetypal programs. Its first priority is designed to relegate all sexual activity laced with guilt and shame into the lowest forms of human perversion and pain as possible. Depending on accepted cultural attitudes, it will use the perceptive level of social access to serve the current societal paradigm into painful and harmful distortions. Sexual misery programs are designed to destroy the inner and outer union between the masculine and feminine principle, and to make everyone on earth sexually miserable. These types of implants can be directly felt in the sex organs and can be passed between partners when having intercourse. Sacred sexuality and loving and healthy behaviors towards sexual healing is the antidote. Satanic ritual abuse, Moloch binding implants. Moloch is a soul-binding entity and energetic container used to harvest energy in satanic ritual abuse. Many people are not aware they have been implanted with Moloch insignia or implants, which happens when the portals in the genitals are breached, especially in violent sexual assault. Many times Moloch is used in the satanic ritual to collect and disperse the human being's vital energies to hierarchies of satanic spirits in a trade for earthly base power and control. When a percentage of the human being's vital forces and spiritual energies are collected by satanic spirits, that person is high risk for soul binding, mental fragmentation, dark manipulation, and possession. The Moloch tank is a type of siphoning construct that is used by the moonshane entities as well as satanic forces to mark the children of Earth with the Moloch signature as early as possible. It has been observed in genital mutilation rituals that Moloch implants are attached to the body of that child or person through the traumatic pain they experienced. Tracking important releases of AI implants. The reptilian tail is observed as an alien implant on the base of the coccyx, which is used to stop the lower three bodies, the first dimensional, second dimensional, and third dimensional layers, from forming into a Merkaba spinning field, which allows for drawing in higher source fields from the higher soul planes and monadic planes for the spiritual light body. It is designed to block higher Kundalini activation while feeding the lower negative ego mental body complex. Scalar tagging has been used on the fourth dimensional astral plane by extra dimensionals for quite a long time. With inner vision, some versions of them may appear like dark jacks or confetti splattered through the auric field that emit certain frequency signals. They are something like astral bots that are automated to lock onto the coordinate location of a person that has been tracked or tagged. These are tracking devices, and they have a particular tone so that those on the astral plane can monitor the location and coordinates of that particular star seed or indigo or whoever that being is. Scalar tagging can be individual to that person's history of evolution, such as Lemurian tags, Atlantean tags, Egyptian tags, Draconian tags, and Orion war tags. If the person was a powerful being in that galactic history or timeline event, sometimes they are tagged to be monitored by the negative alien agenda or human military forces. The Zeta Seal is located in the astral plane layers of the heart complex to block activation of the fourth DNA strand, which blocks access to the first layer of the higher self-mind in the archetypal layers. Essentially, it is a fourth dimensional frequency fence placed in the human body to keep the human soul reincarnating in the astral plane and under the control of the negative aliens during the death process. It creates a multitude of blockages that separate the heart's sensory abilities from being received or recognized by the mental body or conscious mind. Aging disease or cell death programs are assorted implants or uploaded mental programs to activate negative labels for medical classification of diseases, rapid aging, and inability for tissues to adequately repair cellular integrity, leading to cell death. These collective consciousness disease programs are kept alive in the mass consciousness shortening healthy lifespans. Because we die much earlier than we should, and the aliens live for thousands of years, it creates a severe disadvantage to us. 666 implant or Templar seal. This level of blockage and quarantine is what is referred to as the 666 seal. It is a genetic block in the sixth dimensional frequency layers, residing within the 6D indigo ray and 7D violet ray monad or oversoul bodies and crown chakra, which is referred to as our wings. At the beginning of monadic level integration, this implant or Templar seal can be removed from the human light body. Collective guardian family of Ra specifically oversees this implant removal. Metatronic implants are Metatronic reversals that connect to Metatronic implants in the shadow body or negative form, which are designed to reverse and drain life force out of the earth body and the human body. The shadow body or negative form must be cleared from the human light body in order to reconnect the ascending potential of the 12th dimensional template of the human body. This unnatural configuration was built by the negative alien agenda via alien machinery that uses artificial intelligence to parasitize the Earth's life force to achieve immortality. And this distorted structure is referred to as the tree of artificial life or the black tree of life. Crucifixion implants. One of the largest lies promoted to divide the human race is the war over false gods. The false archetypal story of a crucified Christ figure is a mockery to further enslave humans into believing in a salvation model through a crucified Christ. It represents the tortured human being, as we are all the inner Christ, and we have been crucified and implanted when our planet was invaded. These crucifixion implants are tangible control structures placed in the seventh dimensional layers and are therefore in our individual bodies, in the seventh chakra, its complex meridians, and the entire left side and female principle of our bodies. We are not aware of these implants until we open the seventh seal and start connecting this part of our seventh layer light body into our personal consciousness field. The crucifixion implants are located in 7 main areas on the left-hand side of the body on the 7th accitonal line as follows. Top of the skull on left side, heart, left lung, and back of the left knee, pineal gland, left side of neck and lymphatics, rear left thigh and buttocks, Alta major, where the skull rests atop the spine, hypothalamus and left shoulder, aorta artery on the left side of neck. Crown of thorns is designed to distort the natural energetic circuitry of the crown and block the higher self communication descending from higher dimensions being transmitted into the crown receivers. This implant acts as another frequency fence to keep humanity unable to communicate or gain access to their higher self bodies. It blocks the vertical communication channel around the head, skull, and crown. Glandular system implants are malfunctions in the path of the Kundalini rising that impact the brain receivers and the hypothalamus, thalamus, pineal, thyroid, and thymus. During the negative alien invasion 5,500 years ago, the collapse of the magnetic field created DNA scrambling that removed our natural language and ability, which allowed us to communicate with the entire spectrum of planetary species. This interferes with the sequence of fire letters to arrange correctly in the DNA template, causing loss of species memory and language. In the Bible, this is referred to as the time that Yahweh deliberately confounded our species' language because humans were sinners, which is called the Tower of Babel implant. Solar to Earth chakra implant is the distortion of the 11th dimensional Buddhic layer, purposed to interfere with the 10D communication from the avatar self to be unable to ground into their 12D field hub or earth-based chakra interface. If you have trouble with 12th dimensional shielding, connecting crown to feet in vertical channel, and there is artificial intelligence hologram spinouts of negative forms, you should check for the Solar to Earth implant or Avalon implant. Splitter tech is a type of AI encoding that runs as a mind control script that is embedded into a variety of types of media, such as written words or spoken words of an infected individual, or through video or audio recordings that can pass on that same scripted code to another person that resonates with that same frequency or information. It reveals a profile that is commonly observed in very academic or intellectually developed people and tends to be attached to highly mentalized persons with dominating negative egos, judgmental perceptions, and little to no heart opening. When we genuinely desire to connect with our inner Christ spirit and we work to correct ourselves into higher alignment with God's spirit, we can ask for help in removing implants. This is very effective as long as we continue to dedicate ourselves to act in accordance to the health and growth of our spiritual consciousness. When following the law of one as a lifestyle, a person receives much spiritual support in many ways, including implant removal. Extra-dimensional parasites and the chimera effect. The extremely negative thoughts of a pathological mind damage the nervous system, brain, and DNA. When someone is expressing rage, violence, hatred, and the desire to kill and enslave, they attract not only demonic spirits, but extra-dimensional parasites that want to harvest the emotional energy being generated from that body. Currently, people on Earth are being energetically assaulted and exposed to levels of extreme violence and depravity that are being broadcast by not only the media, but through all aspects of the popular culture. The agenda is to mainstream Black Sun Satanism throughout all of the popular culture, which prepares the terrain for people to become consubstantial with extremely negative forces, as well as connect them to satanic-controlled parasites that want to trade places with the human host. When a person has been exposed to conditions of genetic chimerism, combined with consistent bombardment of extreme violence and depravity, when they act out any of these violent behaviors, it stimulates the chimera parasite to gain complete access to enter the human body. This is to say, if a person is acting out extremely negative behaviors that can be defined as Satanism, it is now possible, due to their consent with expressing these forces, that person loses autonomy over their body, trading places with the satanic parasite, which repels the original soul and installs itself within the human body. When it enters the human body, the DNA and the blood record is altered forever. This is the chimera effect. Child sexual abuse implanted thoughts. The negative alien agenda broadcasts this message of sexual abuse towards children into the earth body to get people to pick up these frequencies in their thoughts and then carry out the sexual abuse of children worldwide. It is extremely important that any adult with a functioning brain that cares about the welfare of human children be made aware of this most disturbing archontic deception strategy, which is to specifically target human children for a range of negative alien agendas related biological warfare strategies, such as inflicting trauma-based mind control and implants, vaccinations for genetic degradation, compromised immunity, and bioneurological hijack, to create lifelong pharma drug dependencies and addiction while in childhood, to culturally shape their minds to accept anti-soul and anti-life agendas like transhumanism, perpetuate mass child trafficking for sexual slavery, accept child marriages, genital mutilation, organ harvesting, child sodomy or rape in group settings, rampant sexualization and promiscuity in childhood to adulthood, blood sacrifice, and satanic ritual abuse. At the same time, reinforcing these children to carry out these same agendas into their adulthood in order to replay the vicious cycle of victim-victimizer programming, sexual misery, and slavery of the earth in every way imaginable. This is a huge topic that I have talked about mostly to deaf ears and closed eyes over the years, and in the past it's gotten me some vicious attacks by humans and non-humans. Many people do not want to listen or understand the pedophile reality on earth, and the challenge is to find words that people will be able to process in order to understand what this actually means when the words are being spoken and transmitted. There is a massive collective mind slide and consciousness sweep program in regard to the problem of people having sex with children and raping children. So when this topic is discussed, most 3D people that have not cleared their negative ego or holographic inserts will be aggressively mind-slided and perceive something differently, or they get very angry or hostile. It is critical for all of us on the earth to understand that child porn, child sex, and child sacrifice is the holy grail of the negative alien agenda and Black Sun satanics, and that disseminating this information has to be done very carefully. This topic of discussion and investigation will dump a payload of satanic aggression and death targeting like no other unapproved topic. Being responsible for our darkness. When we are blind to our mistakes in life that lead us down a path of suffering and disconnection, if we refuse to pay attention to these events and analyze our own behaviors that led down that path, we will never flourish. We must be willing to see our mistakes, the places where we can improve our competence in managing our lives, and where we can be as authentic and self-sourcing as possible. We cannot learn how to improve ourselves unless we are willing to face our darkness. If we can be objective and see our malign thinking without judging ourselves as higher or lower, good or bad, just remaining open-hearted and willing to evolve and change, then we can profoundly shift the quality of our life and the life of others. Taking responsibility for the darkest areas of ourselves means that we are willing to look at the inner areas where we are doing things that commit harm and that we know deep down are not in our best interest. We make the choice to discipline ourselves into stopping harmful thoughts, behaviors, and actions, because if we are being really honest with ourselves, we know they are not positive actions. The awareness to move towards more positive actions starts to ripple changes out into the field that rearranges our lives to be based in truth. And this also helps to clear out implants. With every decision we make, if we choose to listen to the truth within and be deeply honest with ourselves, we start to align even more closely to the positive presence of truth. This process reveals even more things that we may need to address truthfully so that we can evolve into the highest expression of our personal potential. When we are feeling mentally disturbed or feeling emotional tension, in order to dissipate that internal stress that we are feeling, we need to learn how to clarify our thoughts and feelings that are producing that tension in our body. We may need to source recurring negative thought forms that are being stimulated automatically from frequency implants attached to our unresolved pain, located in our consciousness body. When we live a pathological life, we create a pathological society. When we ignore the presence of darkness and we continually tolerate harmful behavior of senseless self-destruction, we commit a sin against the eternal light that exists within us. We must become the love and light that shines from out of our form in order to fulfill our purpose, to become the authentic person we are meant to be. Thus, we all must put some effort into our life to be the kind of person that we really want to be, and we will need the motivation to take care of ourselves properly. Develop a vision of what you'd like your life to be in relationship to the kind of person you want to become as your highest expression in this moment and in the future. Then aim for that positive vision. Break down the goal into smaller pieces that you can demonstrate every day in order to create a meaningful and spiritually connected life. If you live in service to the greater whole, your life will work out in the best possible way. There is nothing more practical in creating the best quality life for yourself than to solve the problems and obstacles that come as a result of committing to be the best person that you can be in this world. When we have a better comprehension of how implanted thoughts and mind control implants are used to produce a pathological society, we can better discern the agenda and refuse to participate with it. The antidote to mind control broadcasts and clearing implants is connecting deeply with your inner spirit and developing your spiritual self every day with higher emotional qualities like unconditional love, compassion, and empathy, and genuinely caring about what happens to the people and to the planet. Please only take what is useful for your spiritual growth and discard all the rest. Thank you for your courage and bravery to be a truth seeker. Until next, stay in the luminosity of your avatar Christos Sophia heart path. Please be kind to yourself and each other with a loving heart. Until next month.